Hi guys, hello and welcome to another tutorial. My name is James Cunningham. Today's tutorial is going to be on Solidworks and we're going to draw a split link as seen in the last few slides. Alright, this is going to integrate, as you would have seen there, a few different features and I'll be explaining them and going through them individually when I get to them. Okay, so first thing here, I'm going to open up is a new part on the part file and I'm going to start straight into my sketch. Alright, so I'm going to start off with a sketch. I'm going to come up here to my center point straight slot and I'm going to sketch on the front plane. Okay, so I'm just going to look in at 90 degrees or normal to my front plane. Okay, going to start off just in this general area first of all. The reason I'm not latching onto the origin doesn't matter so much yet, but I will want to do that in a minute. Okay, I'm going to smart dimension this overall. This will be my path, if you like, for my swept boss base. So, and I'm going to dimension that as you see here. So length there on the straight edge of 30 and a radius here of 15 millimeters. Okay. So next thing I'm going to do here, I'm just going to trim this bottom edge. Alright, trim that edge and I'm going to add back onto that on both sides. I'm just going to add on here a distance of 15. So over on the left hand side here you see that distance here, of 15. If you click on that line you see the distance here of 15, and I'm going to draw another line here on this side and I'm going to leave this guy at 5. So you can see here automatically, on the left hand side it highlights the length of that line. I'm going to change that to 5 and enter, or you can come up and use your smart dimension features. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select this point here on the end of that line. I'm going to hold control on my keyboard and select my origin, and I want to move that so that those 2 points are coincident. Alright, so you can see that there and accept that guy that's lined up with the origin from that point. So basically what I have got here now is my travel path, if you like, for the profile once that's drawn. So the next thing I want to draw is my profile, which is going to be circular, and I'm going to sweep that around this shape here as you see it. Okay, so this time I'm going to come up to sketch and I'm going to sketch this time on the right plane. So the reason I made those points coincident is so when I do this next sketch that it is actually on the right plane. So I'm going to sketch on that there, didn't let you on a minute ago, on the right plane, a circle, and just zoom in there, rotate that. I'm going to draw my circle there on the right plane, and I'm going to give this guy a radius of 3.5 millimeters. So 3.5 millimeter radius, which gives it a 7 mil diameter. Alright, so now you see I have my profile and my path. I'm going to come up to our first feature we're going to use, and that's the swept boss base. So that sweeps a closed profile, as you see there, allowing an open or closed path to create a solid feature. So I'm going to select that. Over here in the design tree on the left you see these two guys here. So this guy here, if you hover over that, it's asking you to select the profile, which is the circle, and if it's this guy, automatically when you do that it goes in there into that box and it highlights this guy. Just make sure the correct ones are highlighted when you're selecting your profile or path, and here selecting my path. So you can see the little preview there, and I'm satisfied that that's correct, and I'm just going to accept that guy there. So there now you see what we have is the link itself with that split already in it. So you can manipulate that, move that around if you hold the wheel down on your mouse, and that'll kind of show you what we're after doing there. So we're after using the swept boss base feature on that guy. Right, so the next thing I want to do here is I suppose another feature is a reference plane. I'm going to select here reference planes. That's under the features tab here, as you can see. Reference plane, reference, and I'm going to select plane. I want to reference a plane. Now over here on this side you have first, second, third reference, basically asking me what planes I want to reference. So in this case, the top one here, first reference is highlighted. I simply just want to reference this guy for now, and I want to flip it offset to send it the other way basically, and that is going to be a distance of 15 millimeters away. So I'm just going to change this distance here on the left to 15 and hit enter there. Okay, so 15 and enter. So I'm going to accept that guy. Now, while I'm at it, I may just do another one of those on the other side, and I'll show you why in a minute. So I'm just going to do a reference plane again. This time I'm going to reference this surface, and I'm going to come back a distance of 2 millimeters. But you can see here it's gone towards the split here on it. I want that to go the other direction, so I'm just going to come over here and flip offset again. So essentially what that's given me is two planes there that I'm going to want to sketch on in a minute. Alright, so this guy, the first one, what I want to do here, I want to put a collar around this tube, if you like, or around the link itself. So I'm going to sketch on that surface a circle. Design tree here on the left again is basically asking me what plane or surface do I want to sketch on. I'm just going to select that surface there, and it'll show the origin. Latch onto the origin. Now keep in mind this is where your measurements are key to remember. Okay, I'm just going to exaggerate that a bit and bring it out. My radius of this link here was 3.5, so I'm just going to come out for the radius of this circle I'm after drawing, 4.5 millimeters, and that'll give it a millimeter overhang. What I'm going to do now with that sketch, I'm going to go into features, going to extrude boss base, which is another feature, and I'm just going to, you see it's automatically set here at 10 millimeters. I'm just going to change that to 1 millimeter and accept that. Okay, and when that's accepted, you can see if I click here, it creates a little collar around the edge of that guy. Alright, so now I'm just going to right click on that plane and I'm going to hide it. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Back up to sketch, select my circle, what surface I want to sketch on is this plane in this case. You see the origin thrown up there, latch onto that, draw your circle, and again at 4.5 millimeters for that guy, and I'm going to accept that. And pretty much the same thing again, I'm going to go into features, extrude boss, and I suppose the key thing here is to make sure it's going in the right direction that you want, which is there for me. Again, 1 millimeter, and I'm going to accept that guy. So that's put a collar on this end as well. Alright, so that collar has the plane behind it. I'm just going to right click and hide that plane there with that. So essentially what that collar is doing, when I put my nut onto this link, split link at the end, it's going to prevent it from going too far or either side. Okay, so that's the link, the base part of the link done. Alright, actually what I'm going to do, I'm just going to fillet the corners of these guys. You can see here, I'm going to fillet. Be careful what you're selecting. Now it's automatically set default here to 10 again, so I'm going to go 0.5, and I'm going to select a few corners around these little collars that I did, just to round those guys off. Now you can zoom in if you want to make sure you have the correct circle. And I'm just going to get the back of this one here just to make it more aesthetically pleasing. Okay, you can see the fillets listed here. I'm going to accept that. Sorry, it's thrown up a problem there. I'll change that to 0.4 and see if it'll work for me. It's thrown up a problem there with that. So try it at 0.4, see will that work. Yeah, so the smaller radius just did the trick there. So basically the radius I had selected was a bit too big. So you can see there what that has done now. Now, keep in mind you have all these little lines here, the fillets and so on. If you come up at any stage in SolidWorks to this display style, you can turn off those lines as you see there. But I just like to leave them on while I'm constructing my projects there, just so you can see and select specific edges. Right, so the next thing is I want to put a thread on this guy to attach my bowl to. Alright, so I'm going to put on a thread there. So what I need to do is come up here to curves, again, it's within the features tab, come up to curves, and I want to do a helix and spiral. Now again, it's asking me here what plane or face or surface I want to sketch on. I'm going to zoom right in here. I'm going to select this little guy here, this surface. So that's the flat surface on that color. So just to make sure you select the right surface. Okay, I'm going to select a circle on that surface. You see the origin there. I'm going to draw my circle, and I'm going to keep that at the radius of 3.5 millimeters as well. Okay, so it's the exact size of this tube, if you like. Going to go back into my features, into curves, and the helix and spiral. Okay, so you see that's drawing a thread on it there. Now, just by default, you see all the settings here on the left hand side. They are just 25 revolutions. The pitch is 7 millimeters. You can play around with these yourself as regards the pitch and so on. Now, the pitch I want here is 1 millimeter, so it's quite a small, tight thread. Okay, so you can see when I put that in, it brought that down that little bit. My revolutions, I'm going to leave as it's actually set there at 25 millimeters. Okay, I'm going to leave it at 25 millimeters, and I'm going to accept that guy. Okay, so what you see there now is I have a spiral going from one end to the other, from collar to collar, basically. So that again is your path, if you like, for the swept boss base feature that we're going to use in a minute to swing a profile around that also. So to do that, I want to look down on my top plane. Okay, sorry, let's rotate around there. Just look at the front again. So my top plane, and because I originally lined my center point of this tube up with the origin, that's partly the reason, because when I look down my top plane now and draw the next part, it's going to be lined up perfectly with it. So I'm going to go into sketch. For this one, for your helix and spiral, if you're doing a thread, you can use your line feature for the path rectangle or whatever the case may be. That's up to yourself. I'm just going to use the center point arc. It's asking me here again, select a plane or an edge which you want to create a sketch. I'm going to select, just hit the drop down arrow here on your design tree if they're not shown. Select your top plane. Okay, and I'm just going to zoom in here right into that spiral. All right, I'm going to use the spiral itself as the center point for my arc. I'm going to come out here and I'm going to draw my little semicircle of an arc. I'm going to set the radius for that. Now the radius can cause trouble if it's too big or too small. I'm going to set radius here of 0.4, so it is quite small. 0.4. Okay, and I want to close that geometry there, so I'm going to join from point to point there with a straight line. So essentially what you have there is you have your profile, which is what I'm after sketching if you zoom in, and I have my path here, which is the spiral. So I'm going to go up into swept boss base like I did previously. I'm going to select my profile, which is this guy, my path, which is the spiral, and you can see that thread wrapping around that there at the beginning. Okay, so you have a little preview there. If you zoom in, you can see the thread where it is. Now obviously that thread itself, it's not going exactly from color to color. If you look over here on the left hand side, these little icons, direction 1, bi-direction, and the direction 2. So basically direction, which direction you want to go. I want to go bi-direction, which will send that spiral both ways from where I drew the sketch for the profile. So I'm just going to accept that, and now you can see my little spiral gone right through there. Okay, so I've threaded the whole way. Now you may be asking yourself, why did I do that when the link itself is split? I did that so I'd have a nice continuous spiral from one end to the other. Alright, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to sketch a rectangle here on my front plane, and I'm just going to take out this little bit here in the middle. Okay, so again, you need to know where you're starting and finishing from. If you remember at the beginning, I started that surface from the origin. So I'm going to try to line it up off that origin. rectangle, as long as it's covering the space you want. I'm going to come across and I'm going to smart dimension that rectangle. This is the distance really that matters, and if you remember from the beginning, I can set the gap or the split on the link at 10 millimeters. Now this is after moving here, so I just want to make this side, so select that, hold control and select the origin, and I want to make those guys coincident just so that's lined up perfectly. What I have, again, hence the reason why you line things up the origin, on that front plane I have my rectangle drawn there, as you can see. I'm going to go up to features, extrude cut, and going to extrude a cut right through that thread there. So again, in this case, I want to go from mid plane, and I want to up the dimensions just to make sure it bypasses the whole structure, if you like. Okay, so you can see that there. It's going to cut right through it. So when I accept that, it cuts that. Okay, you can see the thread left behind. Just going to hide that sketch, and there you see it. You have my link there with the split in it. You know, so that's the link itself complete. So you have the thread, and this thread, as you can see, runs right through to this other end where the nut itself is going to lock on. Now keep in mind, these measurements I've just kind of estimated, guys. So the colors here and so on, if you look at one of these split links in reality, the measurements might be different, and there is different sizes you can get as well. So that's entirely up to yourself, but just to keep track of your sizes when you are doing projects like this, just to make sure you don't run into any problem. So I suppose the next thing before we move on, if you put an appearance on this, I'm going to go into your metal here. I'll go into aluminium. I'm going to pick this top one here, the polished aluminium. Okay, I'm going to drag that on, and again you can look at the sweep, the face, or the part, or again any of those icons, the body. I'm going to do the whole thing there, select body, and that's my little finish that's on that. So again, like I said previously, I think I'm finished with that now. Display style, I'm going to take those lines off it to give it a bit of a more realistic look. And of course, up here, I didn't name this yet, guys, part 2. I'm just going to go up to file, save as. Because I've just done already, I'm going to save it to my desktop. So I'm just going to save that as split link. Okay, I'm going to save it to this PC, and I'm just going to save it onto my desktop for now. Okay, so again, make sure when you're saving things that you do save them in the correct place and that you're not moving them around from folder to folder. All right, that's the split link. So next thing we want to do is get the nut that's going to fit onto that. So we're going to open it up as a separate part, select your part, and OK that. Okay, so moving on to the second part of it, which is the nut itself. All right, so I'm going to select here, depending on what plane you decide to start off on. I might go with the right plane this time. Select sketch, and this time I'm going to select this guy here, my polygon. All right, latch on to my origin, draw my polygon. Okay, I'm just going to drag it out there for now. Two things to keep an eye on here. Obviously the size of it, so I can size this by my smart dimension of this circle here. This is showing the construction circle. The diameter of that, as it's showing up there. Now keep in mind there's a diameter radius. It's diameter here as you see it. My diameter for this is going to be 10 millimeters. And again, you can see here I drew randomly on purpose. If you wanted, for argument's sake, for one of these flat surfaces to be horizontal or vertical, just select it and click on your icon either here, make horizontal, make vertical, or you can do it here on the left hand side as well. Okay, so select whatever one you want and accept that guy. Okay, so what I have is a 2D drawing here of my polygon. I'm just going to get rid of that dimension. Sorry, did that again. I'm just going to hide the dimension here, take it out of our way. So looking in straight at that again, another thing I'm going to do is draw a circle. So this circle latches onto the origin again, and this is to create the hole up through the middle of this particular nut. Now again, if you remember, the radius that I had on the split link earlier was 3.5 millimeters. So I want to make sure this guy is the same. It's measuring here in diameter. So 3.5 radius gives you 7 mm diameter, and I'm just going to accept that there. Now you could make a solid out of the polygon first and then cut a hole through it, or you can do it this way. So both ways it can be done. So you can see there what I have now is my two circles, if you like, or my circle and my polygon. To create that into a solid, a 3D solid, I'm going to go into my features, extruded boss base. Okay, and you can go from there or from the mid plane, whatever it is you want. And I'm going to size that. I'm going to size that nut at 13 millimeters. Again, the measurement's entirely up to yourself, as long as it works. Okay, so just keep in mind on that when you are doing your project work. Okay, so there you see it. You have my nut for the split link. All right. Now, while I think of it, you can see here part. It's just labeled as part. I'm just going to come up, File, Save As, and I'm going to call that my split link nut. Okay, and again, I'm saving that to the desktop. So just beware. Just beware of how you're naming things. You know, you could call that nut, but next thing you might have other projects with 10 different nuts and so on. You don't want them getting mixed up. At least by calling it split link nut, and I know exactly where it belongs. So just to tidy up that a bit, I'm just going to put a fillet on these edges here. So fillet, select that edge. You can see the radius is by default set to 10 millimeters. I'm just going to go 0.5 millimeters, and I'm going to select each of those little edges there. Now, if I select the flat surface, it goes right around the top edges here as well. Now, I'm not going to in this case. I'll just show you why, because I'm going to put a chamfer on those just to integrate the two, the chamfer and the fillet. That's the fillets. I'm going to move on now and do a fillet here, a chamfer on the flat ends. So chamfer, I'm going to select that. Now again, instead of selecting this flat surface, you could either or, it'll probably work. If I select that flat surface, it's going to try and chamfer the circle as well. Now in reality, I suppose you do in some nuts see that, but I'm just going to change that to 1 millimeter. I'm just going to select the outer edges, just in case it throws up any trouble further down the line. So I'm going to select those outer edges. Okay. And again, I'm going to come across the other end. Again, this is kind of just to make it more aesthetically pleasing in your Solidworks files. Okay, I suppose I could select those if you wanted, but I'm just going to leave it at that for now and accept those chamfers as well. Sorry, I went 1 millimeter there. I'm going to change it to 0.5. You can see the preview of the chamfer, so 1 millimeter was too big. So there you go. So that's the reason I didn't select the little corners, if you like, there, because I knew it was going to chamfer down into fillet, and it looks quite tidy there. Okay, so that's the basis of your split link nut complete, apart from the thread. All right, so before we move on, I'm going to put again the polished aluminium finish on that and onto the main body of it. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do here is another key feature that you're going to use, and it's kind of a 3-step feature. All right, so instead of trying to put a thread on this nut again separately, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a spare part, another part, sorry, which is the split link itself, and I'm going to combine the two together to make sure they're an exact match. All right, to do this, you go up into Insert and come down to Part. This is your step 1. What part do you want to bring in? You see here, because I have it open down here in the bottom of the screen, it'll automatically pop up here. If you don't have it open, you'll have to browse and find it in your folder. So I'm going to bring in that split link. Okay, I'm going to drop it in here near the nut itself. Okay, now what's it telling me here? The template used for making the right part is different units and measurements than the base part. If you want to change the unit, yeah, I want to change that to keep it the same. So basically, I must have had that when I made it up. Maybe it wasn't in millimeters, but just to make sure you're working off the same units. Okay, that's step 1. Step 2 here, you go up to Insert again, and come to features, and the feature I want to get this time is to move it. So I want to move that link to line it up with the nut. Alright, bodies to move here on the left hand side, either or. I'm going to move the link and select that, and then you're into your mate settings. Okay, so your mate settings, I'm going to select the center guy here, the central cylinder if you like of the nut, and I'm going to try and select the same one here, so the little flat surface here on the actual link. Okay, so you can see how that has lined it up there. All right, so that's lining it up that way. I want to add another mate. Okay, so I'm going to add, just to get this combined on, I'm going to add this little flat surface here, and I'm going to select this guy here, this flat surface on the nut. So you can see that brings those two together tightly, and I'm just going to select that as regards moving it. Okay, so just bring it back into the main screen again. So the next move here, the third move for that, I want to go into insert again, features, and I want to come down here to combine. So basically what I'm doing here to combine is combining the two parts. Now when you're doing this, you have to select a main body. So the main body in my case here is the split link nut. Keep in mind up here and within the split link nut file. You can add them together, subtract, or a common feature. Now what I want to do is to subtract the split link which contains the thread from the nut. Okay, so the bodies to combine here again is this guy, the split link, and once I have that selected, I simply accept that, and it takes away the split link, and you can see now within the middle of that thread or within the middle of the nut is the thread. Okay, so you can see that if you want to do a cross section here through that, you can do your section view and accept that if you want, just to show you how it is and the thread is cut through that. You know, so that's, I suppose, a three-step feature there. We want to insert the part first, then we moved it to line it up, and then we combined it. Okay, so just to unselect section view here again, just to get rid of the section view and to bring you back to there with your split link nut. So now I have my split link nut and the split link complete. It's time to move on and to assemble both of those. Right, so I'm going to go up here and open an assembly file. Here, so you see when I open that assembly file, because again I have the two files down here opened up, they're automatically here in this browse box. Again, otherwise if they weren't, I'd have to browse and find them within their own folders. So whatever one you bring in first here is going to be your main, I suppose, unit within this assembly file. Okay, so just be cautious of that time. I'm going to bring in the split link first, and that's going to be my main part, I suppose, within that file. Okay, so you see this design tree changes on the left. I'm going to go up here into assembly again. I want to insert a component, this time my split link nut, insert that somewhere in the vicinity there of the split link. All right, the next thing I want to do is to mate those. So click on mates. Now there are different types of mates here. You can see your standard mates, you have your advanced mates and mechanical mates. I'm going to select, first of all, this mate. I'm going to select the flat part, the main shank, if you like, of the split link, and likewise here the same on that guy. Now as that is there, it's lined up as a concentric mate, so they're basically lined up both circles. I'm going to come down to mechanical mates now, and I'm going to select screw. Okay, so that's giving me a screw fixing if you want. I'm going to accept that. It's giving me a screw thread, so you can see our screw mate, as I'm rotating that, it's actually screwing it along the thread. Okay, one more mate to put with that. with that guy there is I'm going to select mate, and I'm going to select these two faces here, so this flat face and the collar. So you can see now where the collar comes into it. So when I select on that there, this guy for my distance, I'm going to give it a minimum dimension here. You see the little icon. I'm going to give that 0. Okay, so basically it'll come right up tight to the collar, and I just wanted to move across. I'm just going to try it at 12 millimeters across. Okay, so what that's going to do when I accept that, that will allow me to thread it. You'll see the difference now again. Now it's taken a long time obviously to thread this guy because it's such a fine thread on it. So the pitch of it, you could up the pitch of it, and you wouldn't have to be rotating that as much if you like to be less thread length on it. So I'm going to keep turning that, and you can see now it has stopped there because I set those linear dimensions on it. Okay, so I've set it from 0 to 12, so meaning it'll let me thread that right along here for 12 millimeters, and it'll stop on this side also. So that there is my assembly. So again, you can see your assembly there. I'm going to knock off the line features, give a more realistic view. All in all, I think that's it, guys, as regards that. Now, you might want to put it into a scene. So if you go back here into appearances, scenes, and decals, instead of appearance, select a scene. You have different scenes there. Look, I'm not going to hang out too much on them. You can drag whatever scene you want in there to the screen. Okay. You know, you have your photo views. Then if you want to come up to your render tools, and keep in mind, if any of these guys are not listed up here, if you right click on any of them, you can select or deselect as you please. So I'm going to go onto my render tools, final render. Now sometimes you might have to select Solidworks add-ins first. I've noticed on my laptop anyways. Then render tools. You come into your final render. Recommended you add a camera or at least turn on perspective view. I'm just going to select perspective view, and I'm going to let that do its thing there as regards getting a photo view of it. Okay, so final render. So this might take a minute depending on your laptop, and that'll basically give you your render, your photo view of it, as you can see it doing it here now. And you can save those images as well for your photo view 360, and that's pretty much that project complete. So you can see it here, it's doing its thing, as I said. You can save those images, just give it 1 second. Save preview image if you want. I'm going to close it down. Sorry, I have to close it down. I didn't actually do it there. You can save your preview image and save that in your folder as well. And you'll have all that, your split link within the one folder. Okay, I'm just going to come up, name this assembly. So file, save as, rebuild and save document. Split link assembly, and again, make sure you don't go changing names after you create a file, or it could cause trouble down the line. So guys, I hope that helps. Anyone watching this on YouTube, please give a thumbs up or even a comment there. I always appreciate feedback. You know, it's one way I can improve with my videos, so don't be afraid to give a thumbs up or a comment and a little feedback along with it. Thanks guys.